Oh, hello. Welcome to Sungrand University. It's good to see you. Thank you for attending class today. In this video, we will be describing and explaining how to write good dialogue for your stories. I will be giving a few examples, as well as reading an excerpt from my upcoming novel, Silver Falls Heavy Shadows, and I will explain more on that later. So, basically, dialogue consists of two basic steps: a query and a response. One character speaking to another character. The point of dialogue is to pass information from one character to another, or to pass information to the reader, or to communicate a character's mental state. So much modern media has very poorly written dialogue. Just because you can put words on a page, just because you can put text down and make a character say something, does not mean that you are actually storytelling. Aside from accomplishing your goal of passing information, there are secondary objectives which you can achieve from a scene with dialogue. You can communicate the long-term relationship between characters, but also the short-term relationship between characters. That means characters who have known each other for decades will communicate with each other a certain way, and you can show what their relationship has been like over the long term. But also, let's say, for example, friends have been good, close friends for a long time, but a fight has occurred recently. And so obviously their short-term relationship is going to be affected by that. So you can explain and show the differences between their long-term and short-term relationships. Very importantly, you can also make the audience feel a certain way. You can influence the audience's sympathy or resentment towards a character through dialogue, and you can give information about the past and show how characters feel about past events or how it has affected them. The best way to write dialogue is to create a unique voice with identifiable traits for each fictional character. This does not have anything to do with voice acting when I say that each character needs a unique voice. A voice is a consistent set of values that determines how a character responds to certain situations. Here's an easy, simple example. 3 friends are hanging out. 2 friends love pizza, but the third friend hates pizza. The first friend says, "Let's all go get pizza." Knowing this information, how would you, as an audience member, expect these characters to react? You expect one character to say, "Yes, let's get pizza." You expect the third character to say, "No, I hate pizza." This is the basic concept of characters having their own unique voice. You, as a writer, create scenes, and instead of forcing dialogue into a character's mouth, which is what you see novice and incompetent writers do, a competent writer will let characters speak for themselves. Now, let's make this pizza scene more interesting. Instead of the third friend saying, "No, I hate pizza," which is what you would expect, the character does not reply. Instead, the character sighs deeply, staring at the road leading out of their small country town with a faraway look. The other 2 friends watch with concern and wait a moment before softly saying again, "Hey, let's go get pizza," knowing full well their friend hates pizza. The third friend tries but fails to fake a smile and softly replies, "Yeah, okay, let's go get pizza." This is an example of storytelling on a deeper level. We use the information that the audience knows in conjunction with the information that the characters know to create a more interesting situation. Naturally, the audience would then think, "Wait, but that character hates pizza." We let the audience ask, why would they agree to go get pizza then? This is an example of how effective storytelling is a two-way street. We need to let the audience be a part of the story, and we need to let the audience ask their own questions and be engaged. We need to let the audience use their own life experiences to fill in blanks that are left in the story on purpose. So much modern media has incompetent storytelling, and that is when you have writers who just shove information, exposition, and dialogue in the audience's face without understanding storytelling and how it works on a deeper level. Now I will read an excerpt from my upcoming novel, Silver Falls Heavy Shadow. This is a novel set in the Silver Falls universe, which is a game series that I develop. The novel will be available in paperback eventually, but it will always be available to read for free in digital format. You can currently read the rough draft that is online right now. There are around 18 chapters that you can read for free right now. I will be reading from one of the chapters here, about 10 pages. During this reading, I want you to pay close attention to the voices that each character has, taking into account the information that I've explained to you earlier in this session. Each character is designed to have their own specific voice, so they will respond to situations in their own way. And I will be introducing characters and letting them speak for themselves. I will be creating situations and letting those characters react to those situations. It gives the audience a sense of satisfaction when characters do respond in certain ways, and it is what allows us to feel a connection, like we know these characters and that we can be invested in them. It gives these characters unique identifying traits when it comes to their personalities, and that is what an audience needs in order to like a character and to relate and to understand a character. Sorry, Dodger whimpered, barely making a sound. His hands stung from hitting the bar surface so hard. He trembled as he picked up his shot glass, the remainder of which had spilled onto the bar. When I lived in Finland, one piece of advice my father used to say to me was, "Ei kissiva tieltä eksi." It's almost like saying, "He who asks for the road doesn't get lost." I thought it was a funny sort of saying. Maybe he was trying to say there's nothing wrong with asking for help sometimes. Rauno spoke softly, gazing into the mirror on the back wall of the bar. For a brief moment, he thought he was looking at his father's face and hearing his father's voice. A subtle, rare smile escaped from behind his beard. "You're right. Samba was the best dog I ever had. He was special. I got no idea why he would have run all the way to the Brandish property like that. And then some animal." Dodger's words snagged on the inside of his throat. Clementine mixed 2 drinks softly, careful to avoid disturbing Dodger with any loud noises. She gently sat the drinks down in front of Dodger and Rauno, and with a delicate smile said, "This one's on me." Without making eye contact, the 2 men clinked their glasses together and washed down their shots with another drink. "So what did you see at the old abandoned steel mill?" Dodger turned to face Rauno. "The paper said there was a weird creature. When I was young, I used to believe there were hissi in the forest in Finland. What's the word? Goblins. My father told me there's no such thing as monsters. So I went out into the forest alone and I looked. No monsters. When I read this guy's journal, I went to the steel mill to see for myself and prove there's no such thing as a monster. The padlock on the gate was unlocked. One of the abandoned buildings was even unlocked, so I went inside. And I saw something. It was dark. I didn't get a good look at it, but it wasn't any animal I ever saw before. It was like the guy said. It had too many legs, and it had a face like... I don't know the word in English. I ran away." Rauno exhaled deeply, then drank down half of his drink. Dodger understood then that Rauno really needed to tell someone, to say it out loud and just get things off his chest. He needed to get a grip on something he just couldn't understand on his own. Dodger wondered if he would ever have the guts to do the same. With an unexpected creaking of the swinging doors, a familiar figure appeared and stepped confidently toward the bar. The figure took the seat nearest to the front door before his eyes glistened in the neon lights hanging from above. Dodger looked over and couldn't believe what he saw. It was Sheriff Moss, not wearing his work uniform, just sitting at the bar. Outside of disco night at the bar, Dodger had never really seen Moss come to the bar just to sit. Dodger watched intensely to see what would happen. Rauno soon noticed Dodger had become distracted. "Whoa, that's weird," a high-pitched voice suddenly appeared next to Dodger, jolting him to attention. "Hey, whoa, Tira, you surprised me there," Dodger said with a jump. The bright-eyed lady in her late 20s, with rocket ship earrings, plopped herself onto the seat next to Dodger. "That's unusual to see Moss here, isn't it?" Tira Dollarbuck leaned forward on the bar with both her elbows while sipping on a strawberry smoothie. She kicked her legs out playfully, swinging on her seat. "Who's this, Dodger? A girlfriend?" Rauno leaned in and whispered to Dodger, nudging Dodger's arm. "Blech!" Both Dodger and Tira groaned, twisting their faces in disgust. Rauno went wide-eyed, unable to understand the reaction. He didn't think Dodger was bad-looking, and Tira was clearly a very attractive lady. "This is Tira. She used to babysit my daughter, Dahlia. Now she's grown up and works for SASS, believe it or not. Tira, this is Rauno, a good friend of mine. He works at Flatwoods Electrical with me." Dodger explained with pride, as if he were talking about his own daughter. "Nice to meet you, Rauno." Tira leaned across Dodger and gave Rauno a firm, confident handshake. Rauno nodded in return and gave a subtle, shy smile. "Anyway, Dodger, I got really close to beating your high score on the pinball machine there, but I just can't get there." Tira leaned onto the bar, setting her face on her palm. "Huh? Oh, that's not my high score on the machine. That's Rauno's." Dodger shrugged, pointing to his friend. "What? Seriously? Oh, I just thought... Oh. How do you get a score like that? Care to share some tips on how you did it?" Tira covered her mouth in surprise. "Nothing special. You just watch the movement of the balls. You have to feel the balls in your hand," Rauno said, slightly slurring his speech with a thickening Finnish accent as his drinks suddenly hit him hard. Tira's eyes went wide as her face flushed bright red. It took all the strength she had to stop herself from bursting out into laughter. Rauno looked ahead, expressionless, absolutely oblivious to what he had just said. "Lost in translation," Dodger muttered as he applied his palm to his face with an audible slap. He felt the floorboards sag as the front door creaked open again. An evening wind blew into the bar, bringing with it wisps of fog as another familiar figure cautiously entered. Bull Brandish made his way toward the bar and sat down next to Moss, the way a fully loaded cement pourer drops its legs to stabilize itself. Clementine walked to the two men sitting at the far end of the bar while watching the rest of the room from the corner of her eye. "Hot diggity damn! Can you believe that? Bull Brandish? Here?" A scraggly, slurring voice creaked out. A red-eyed, wobbly, tall, thin man dropped himself down onto the seat to the left of Tira. The tall, thin man wore a tattered, white falcon fang shirt that had obviously been through a washing machine with red colors. Scrambled, long hair and a defiantly tired face told a story of a man in his late 50s who was more concerned with partying than anything else. "Shh! Keep your voice down, Slim. He might hear you," Tira whispered. "Well, that's twice tonight he's come on in here. Maybe he's lonely and needs a friend. I'm gonna go on over there and buy him a drink," Slim Roberts said while slurping his pale moonlight, spilling some of it onto his shirt. "Hold it. He's busy," Dodger grunted, extending his hand out to push Slim back onto his seat. "Hey, where's your buddy, Bear? It's weird seeing you sitting here without him." Slim gave Dodger a confused look. "I don't know," Dodger sighed, wondering if he should even mention the falling out between him and Bear, all because Dodger had a short talk with Arnold Weiss. Turning away from Slim, Dodger watched Clementine quietly discuss something with Moss and Dodger. She pointed to something on a large piece of paper, prompting Bull to shake his head in disagreement. Dodger, Rauno, Tira, and Slim each watched while holding their breath, trying to discuss what it was Moss and Bull could have been discussing. Bull set a box of something on the counter with a tinny, metallic clattering and pointed to Clementine, then the doorway to the back room. "What do you think that is?" Tira gasped. "Sounded like a box of ammo," Dodger answered, refusing to take his eyes off of Bull. Bull pointed toward the front door and waved his arm subtly. Clementine nodded, glancing back to notice the group at the far end of the bar watching them intently. Bull gave her some folded bits of paper earlier. She's handed those papers out to a couple people so far tonight. Dodger scratched his chin, feeling the stubble on his face threatening to grow into a full beard if he didn't soon take action. "What's on the paper? A party invitation?" Tira looked up to the ceiling, imagining what Bull could possibly want from the people in the bar. "No clue, but Clementine pretended they didn't exist when I asked her about them," Dodger explained. Oh no, a party I'm not invited to, Slim whined, crumpling down onto the counter. Moss put both his arms up, extending his hands, as if to explain the size of something to Bull. Clementine turned her back to the others in the bar to hide her body language. Whoa, what does that mean? Tira gasped. He's measuring cutting a tree for timber, Rauno spouted out plainly. No, he's explaining ideal tickle techniques, Slim countered, his tone as serious as the night is dark. Dodger turned to stare Slim directly in the eyes, squinting as if to say, "Are you serious?" Bull stood up, pointed his index finger forward, then with a sharp punching movement, twisted his hand and jabbed his finger upward. The four figures huddled together at the bar flinched in horrified unison. A knife-killing technique! Tira gasped with her hand covering her mouth. Stuffing a turkey, Rauno casually took a sip from his drink, rattling the ice cubes. Prostate exam! Slim exclaimed with wide eyes and a look of horror, patting his rear end as if in pain. Clementine picked up the box of ammunition and kept her eyes locked to the ground as she walked through the dark doorway to the back room. Moss stood up and nodded with a grave look as Bull opened his mouth wide and pointed to the back of his throat. What the hell? Dodger couldn't stop himself from gasping. Secret ninja strangling technique. Tira curled up as she recoiled in fear. Suicide pact. Rauno tipped his glass back, rattling the ice cubes and finding the bottom of his drink. French kissing stories with a forbidden love. Slim grinned with a jealous glee as he stroked his bushy mustache. Dodger, Rauno, and Tira each turned to Slim, giving him a dull, frustrated glare. What the hell, Slim? Dodger shook his head. What? Hey, I'm just as straight as the next guy, but if a guy as big as Bull told me he was a fixin' to kiss ya, well, there ain't much you can do to stop him, Slim reasoned, absolutely certain of his logic. God damn it, Slim. Dodger removed his glasses and applied his palm to his face with an audible slap. A slight breeze could be heard as the front door inched open warily. Peering in through the doorway was a man in his mid-40s with an athletic build, long brown hair combed back neatly, and a faraway look on his face as he seemed to be ever searching the horizon for something just beyond his grasp. Wearing a dark green and brown, long-sleeved plaid shirt and leather gloves he made himself, he signaled to Moss. Uncle Wood! Tira covered her mouth to stifle her words at the last second. After a handshake and a nod, Moss and Bull joined the man who had appeared at the front door and left the bar, leaving a pile of questions behind where they had been standing just moments prior. The disjointed sound of the night wind moaned as the swinging front door creaked to a standstill. Now what was that all about? Dodger asked himself. That evening's drinks had lubricated his jaw enough that words were coming out before he could filter them. You know Hogan's friend, Arnold Weiss? Was in here earlier. He was with the guy who runs Sam's gas station. Clementine handed them those little pieces of paper, then they left. Tira recounted, sipping through her straw the last of her strawberry smoothie. Tira, when you said Uncle Wood just now, did you mean Wood Wheeler, the owner of Allagash Lumber? Dodger questioned, breathing freely since Bull had left the bar. Well, yeah, that's him. But what was he doing with Bull? Uncle Wood doesn't even know Bull. Tira frowned, trying to piece together her fragmented information into a picture that made sense. So that makes Hogan's grandson, Sheriff Moss, Annalise Henceforth, Wood Wheeler, Arnold Weiss, and the fellow from the gas station. What in blue blazes could they be doing with Bull Brandish? Dodger gazed far into the mirror on the back wall, as if peering deep past time and space. Uncle Wood is involved. It has to be something that makes sense. Maybe they're building something on Bull's property, Tira reasoned, swirling the straw in circles within her empty glass. Suicide cult, Ronald said plainly, spitting an ice cube back into his empty glass. Sex cult, definitely, Slim stated, slurping the last of the drink from his glass like a dog drinking water from a bowl. No, don't say that about Uncle Wood. It must be something innocuous, like a late-night book club, Tira pleaded. Human sacrifice. Forest spirit summoning ritual, Rauno shrugged, looking around the room for Clementine. Cabin in the woods orgy party, Sim sighed genuinely, disappointed that he had not been invited. I don't know. What do you think about all this, Karn? Dodger turned around, for the first time realizing that Karn was no longer sitting there with him. "Karn?" Dodger called out, his eyes darting from one corner of the room to the other. And we'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed that reading of an excerpt from my upcoming novel, Silver Falls, Heavy Shadow. The reason why I shared this excerpt is because it features a scene which clearly shows an example of how characters speak for themselves. This is a scene in which I, as a writer, did not force any dialogue into these characters' mouths. With each character I write, I create their own voice, their beliefs, their wants, their desires, their dislikes, and I let them respond to these scenes. As a writer, you have to understand and plan out the information that needs to pass from one character to another and the information that needs to pass from a character to the audience. I let these characters pass that information in an organic way while reacting to situations in their own unique way. You can see after just a few responses of query and response in this scene that you figure out how these characters think and how they respond, and it gives each character a unique, specific voice. You'll find with so much modern media that characters in scenes do not have a unique voice. They are simply spouting words that the writer is forcing into their mouths in order to move the plot forward. So, this is an example, this reading, of how you can tell stories on a deeper level, how you can write on a deeper level, and how you can create characters that audiences can understand and enjoy, because these characters have unique identifying traits that make them fun to spend time with. If you enjoyed the characters and the stories here, I'll put a link in the description so you can read the rough draft of Heavy Shadow that is currently online. I'll put a link to some of my games, my itch.io. You can play my homebrew games for free. And I'll put a couple links to some of my games that I have available on the Nintendo Switch. Thank you very much for attending class today. I hope this has been useful to you. If you have any questions or need any further advice when it comes to writing or game development, please feel free to let me know and we can discuss that next time. Be well.